Hi, my name is Megs Reynolds, and I am the Executive Director of the Do More Agriculture Foundation. We are the national voice and champion for mental health in Canadian agriculture. Today on our Talk It Out series, our focus is on brain injury. And joining me today is Curtis Anderson. Curtis, thank you for joining us.
Megs, thank you for having me and helping me share my story and raise some awareness together.
Yes, we're so thankful you're happy to share. Where are you joining us from today? Where's your location?
Well, Innisfree, Alberta, so
Okay,
about hour and a half east of Edmonton.
awesome. Well, thank you. So can you, I guess to start off, tell us about your background and your your journey and kind of what went on with you?
Okay, Megs, on June 26, 2002, at the Pinoka Stampede, they opened the gate and I lost my balance and my head smashed the bull's head twice. So I spent the first 3 weeks in a drug-induced coma at the U of A hospital, and then I spent a week short of a year in therapy, learning how to walk, talk, regain the use of my left arm, and basic life skills.
Wow, that's incredible that you are joining us today. I can't imagine what it was like trying to just relearn everything.
And Megs, with my walking right in the beginning, it took two nurses to get me out of bed and they'd push my chair to therapy. And in physiotherapy, the therapist would walk alongside me for an hour a day, teaching me how to walk step by step. And it'd be your cane, left foot, and then right. And it was a big deal to walk 10 feet without stopping. And last year in June, I walked 20 miles in 9.5 hours to raise awareness of brain injury. And with my speech, well, I couldn't talk in the beginning, but so we started pronouncing vowels and then putting vowels into words and words into sentences. And with my left arm in the beginning, I was unable to move it, but then just after all the therapy, it's working better.
That's incredible. Congratulations for your walk and your fundraising. That's an amazing achievement after relearning to walk and everything you've been through. Um, when, the early stages, when you're getting back into relearning and working with physio, did you know that you would be able to walk, or was that still something that you were committed to trying and working towards it, but you weren't sure what the outcome was going to be like?
Yeah, like I mean, it's well, like when those first steps, like there would be an assistant walking behind me with a chair so I could take a break once in a while. But it's the biggest thing with recovery or anything. You'll keep getting better as long as you want to. But I wrote in my journal, it was 48 days after the deal. I have a lot of work ahead of me. And just, well, for 21 years, my full-time job has been my recovery. So it's just something you got to put time into.
And it doesn't stop. It's a daily
No.
process. Yeah. What has it's obviously impacted every part of your life. Has it, as you learn more about it and as you progress with relearning things, do you feel like you're at a place now where you're comfortable sharing your story, which is incredible, especially for others that have gone through something? I think that's a big light at the end of the tunnel. But what have you done kind of on the mental health side throughout the journey from when, you first were conscious and understanding of what was going on once they brought you out of that coma to where you are now?
To tell you the truth, Meg's in the first, I don't know, whatever, say 5 months, I don't know, he never really had emotions in a way, but definitely, I mean, there's been anxiety. I mean, there's been lots of sleepless nights, and I mean, there's depression, but everyone has that. But I guess the way I kind of not handled it, but I just thought if I keep working towards getting better, I mean that's but I mean you gotta take care of your mental health because that's what's gonna take care of your physical health too. And I find like riding horseback or even just like when I was at the Glen Rose, the rehabilitation hospital in Edmonton, I would go outside and I'd just I would put my bare feet in the grass. And I don't know, it just everything went away. It just seemed like it lit up your whole body. But it's and I now I am not full fledged into yoga, but I find if I just I mean do some breathing or like and like I don't have any TV or nothing like that going, but exercise is a huge part of not only getting better, but it just it makes you feel good. Like Megs, a couple years ago, I wanted to ride my stationary bike across Canada, and I just kept track of the miles on the calendar. And in the beginning, the first 1,600 miles, it took me 2 hours to do 30 miles, and then near the end, it took me 2 hours to do or no 91 minutes and 7 seconds to do 30 miles. So it's just the way like setting little goals, but it makes you feel good when you do something like that.
Hmm. Yes, I agree. Having something to work towards. And I think you hit on such an important point that it's a journey and a process and something you need to keep working on, whether that's physical recovery or rehabilitation or relearning to walk or taking care of your mental health, that it's
Yeah.
not something that we just start and stop. We need to think of it more of that process and what can we put into our day to day and figuring out what works for you. Like I totally, when you said the grass, I totally understand that because like for me, that's gardening, like just getting my hands in the soil and pulling weeds out. And it's amazing how that can de-stress someone.
And even now, like I'll go out whatever in the yard, like in my bare feet, and it still gives me quite a rush or lights my brain up.
Yeah.
And I found well, rest is a huge part. Lots a good enough sleep, but past couple years I've been really paying attention to my diet,
Mm.
and that plays a huge part too.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many pieces, and sometimes you just need to start with a couple of them because
Yeah,
it can feel so overwhelming to say, okay, these are all the things that I need to be doing or I should be trying to do. What,
and it's
oh, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
Is there any advice that you would give or anything you would like people to know, especially like in the early days after someone has experienced a traumatic brain injury of, what might help them better support that person or have a better understanding of what that person's going through?
Don't wear yourself thin. Don't try and do too much. And I can't stress rest enough because like after you spend a day of doing therapy, I mean you're gonna be wiped and just well, I guess take care of yourself, but don't don't compare your recovery to anyone else in anything because everyone's brain injury and everyone's injury is different altogether. You'll get better on what you put into it. It's not you can't compare yourself to the next survivor or the person down the street. It's you're on your own path and it's what you make of it. It's all up to you on how much how how you get better. It's up to you on how you do that.
Thank you for saying that. That's all so important. I think we're also quick to, especially with social media, look at everybody else and compare ourselves to what they're doing or what that timeline looks like. So I think that's, yeah, such an important piece of advice that people need to understand that it's their journey and to be putting stuff into it every day and to taking care of themselves throughout it. Cause I can see how you would want to just go really hard trying to progress as fast as possible, but then how that could possibly set you back with being exhausted and pushing yourself too hard.
Like in the beginning, there like if even now more so in the beginning, but if I had two pretty late nights, I'd be wiped out the third day.
Mhm. Yeah. So being able to really listen to your body too.
That's the
It's telling you.
hugest part, or the biggest part is
Yeah.
listening to your body. Because like even now, like when I'm driving or whatever, my brain will flat out say, "You need to pull this car over and rest." And when it's your brain will tell you that it's time to lay down. You don't have to worry about making a decision, and just like it'll tell you, I'm dehydrated and I need water and I need it now.
Hmm. How
Yeah,
can
that might,
someone,
Megs, that might be one of the biggest things you
okay,
said, or is listening to your body and
yeah,
listening to your brain.
yeah. What is it hard to trust that at first? Like what you're getting from like, is it hard to say, okay, that's actually what I should be doing or actually what I need? Like, is it when you're coming back from that brain injury, is it sometimes confusing what signals you're getting?
Yeah, like even like right at the beginning, Megs, you don't have so much of that, but like nowadays, like 21 years later, it'll like, I mean, it'll tell you it's time to shut her down.
Hmm.
But in that first year in therapy, I mean, and that's one thing about whatever recovery, doesn't matter what you're making, when you get to see little rewards all the time, it sure picks you up to keep going. And it was, pretty neat being able to, remember taking your first steps, this time around. Or it's it's something everyone doesn't get to go through, at like being able to do everything for the first time. Like Megs, I kept for the first 13 years, I kept the list of things I could do with my left arm or two arms, and it took 10 years to do half of that list.
Wow.
So like the 10-year mark was a magic number for my left arm to really get clicking.
And to be able to track your progress. So you had those, you knew that what you were doing was making a difference and to have that, not give up,
Yeah.
right? Because you know you're making progress on it. Yeah, I think that that's an important piece is just the time that it can take and that like you said, everyone's different, but to not give up and
Yeah.
just look for
Like
those little wins.
the toes of my left foot, I mean, they move, but not a whole bunch. And then here in February or March, they started moving again. So I've been working on it. And now I can curl the toes of my left foot, bring them up in the air. And then, so I mean, that was brand new after 20 years and 8 months,
Uh,
something new progress. So just like it was a big deal being able to see your toes
yeah,
move again. Like just rewards or makes you feel good.
yeah. You can still, it doesn't matter, I think, from what you're saying, how far out you are from that accident, that you can keep rebuilding little pathways and connections in your brain by practicing and trying and staying consistent with the work and the exercise that you're doing.
Yeah, and like I said before, the biggest thing with recovery or anything in life is you will keep getting better as long as you want to, and that's the bottom line.
Mhm. What,
And
how can someone best support someone who's coming back from a really traumatic brain injury?
one thing you do or advice is don't try and do too much for the survivor. Let the survivor survive. Like say if whatever, me and you were walking down the street or whatever in a house or something, and I went to open the door and then someone volunteered to do it. Well, it doesn't matter if it takes me 10 times as long to do it. I'm still able to do it because 9 times out of 10, you're going to be by yourself. So you better darn sure be able to do it when there's someone there. That might be the biggest advice is don't try and do too much for the survivor, and give them space. Let
Mhm.
them, because if you don't try, you'll never get better
Mhm.
in
I feel like,
anything.
yeah.
And
Could you also, I feel like if I was trying to do something for, like, trying to do everything for you and not, giving you the space to do it and the time to do it, I feel like too, then that makes your identity only about your injury instead of just you getting to interact and be you and not just be seen for that injury that happened or how that affected your life.
Yeah, like it's like Megs, this is kind of off topic, but me and this lady that was my worker, we are going to the swimming pool at the college in Vermilion, and I was going to set up a schedule with the lady behind the desk, and my worker did all the like answered all the questions like I was just a ghost. I wasn't even standing there, and like when when you say you make your first outing, that's just one more step of independence that you're going to get. Like you're getting back into society, and you're it's a big deal being able to make your own decisions and set up a swimming schedule. But when someone just comes in and steps on your toes and takes that away, it bugs you.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. So people support people need to understand that they need to support, not
Yeah,
not do and not
yeah,
fix, but support.
yeah. Like just give the survivor space. Like let them you know show their stuff.
Hmm. Yeah. And I guess too, through that, I mean, we talk a lot about boundaries with mental health and all our discussions. And I think that's a big one too. Being able to talk about that, right? Like if you do this or you answered all those questions for me, this is how it made me feel. Next time, let me answer. If I need help, I'll ask for it, and setting up some of those clear boundaries.
Yeah, like when we got back out to the car after that happened, like I said, Holly, that bugged me what just happened in there. So, you know, and then I spoke at the Lakeland College for whatever to a class that would work with survivors for about 5 years. And I would always tell that story about, when you guys start working with survivors or whoever, just give them space and show them respect and let them get back into society and start making decisions.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that I mean, for anyone, you need to have control of your life and what you're
Yeah.
doing, but how important that is as, you're progressing from that injury and getting those pieces of your life back. Like that's such an important piece of that to be able to do that. And like you said, start making those decisions and setting up schedules and such.
And it's uh I'm lucky I get to speak at, quite a few events or some events where there are survivors or of all types, and they come and talk to you like after. And probably the best compliment I've had is a couple of survivors said that whatever one survivor said if he could do it, I could do it. So like they gave him hope to keep going in their recovery, and that's a good feeling, knowing that you're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope that this, like our conversation can touch people like that as well. Because I can't imagine how just scary and frustrating and overwhelming it is in the beginning, but to see someone like yourself that's 20 plus years out and how you're still making gains and you're still getting things back, and how it is, the work you put into it and all about listening to yourself and your body and not giving up.
Yeah, and that's like what you just said there at the end. That's the biggest thing probably of being a survivor or anything is never giving up. Because I mean, after all these years, well, you and I both know there's no such thing as I can't. I mean, that's
Hmm.
probably the biggest thing is there's no such thing as I can't.
Yeah. What is the biggest thing you've learned through like the last 20 years?
Biggest thing that I learned on my journey,
Yeah.
uh, that you're gonna climb some mountains, but you're gonna walk and crawl to a lot more valleys. But it's those valleys that teach you how strong you are and find out what exactly you are made of. Struggles make you stronger, build character, and build resilience. And that's, I guess that might be it.
I think that's a great comment. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you would like people to know about, what recovery is like, what living with a brain injury is like, how to best support someone with a brain injury, like any of those pieces, things that you still wanted to touch on?
Uh, I guess one thing, well, this is kind of, oh, okay, is when you're walking, when you're in public or whatever, people are going to gawk at you, stare at you, but just, it's hard, but just ignore it and just do your own thing. And, you know, no one knows, I mean, okay, no one knows not everyone knows what a brain injury is like and the road that you've walked. So I guess probably one of the biggest things is for just be proud of yourself. Be proud of how much work you've put into this recovery. Be proud of all the new things that you're able to do again and all the new things that are still to come down the road. And just, well, I guess be proud of yourself.
Yeah, that is great advice. Is there a way people can connect with you if they're watching this and maybe they've gone through something similar or they want to learn more, or possibly they, want to book you to have a conversation about it?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, but I'm also I'm Curtis Anderson 6 on Instagram. And that's the biggest thing is to all survivors or anyone out there, don't be scared to share your story because you never know who you're going to help, because helping others helps yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your journey. I'm really happy that you were, open to this and to come on, because when I met you last year, at that dinner, I was just blown away by your story and your just how far you've come, and very impressed by you. So I'm really thankful that we were able to help share your story, and I really hope that it connects with some people out there.
And Megs, if there was one thing that you took away from my story, what would it be?
That's a great question. I would say listening to your body and to keep trying, because I think I would have made the assumption prior to that, after so many years you're like, okay, this is where I'm at. So I think it's so incredible that, 20 years out and you're still setting goals for things you can't yet accomplish and working on them and making them happen. Like I'm so inspired by the fact that you're like, okay, what can I do today to improve on where I was at yesterday, and how that's your mindset and that's how you approach life.
Yeah, so on Monday it's going to be 21 years, and it's for me I guess that's a pretty big deal.
Hmm.
And it's some one thing, Megs, I want to just touch on. 2 weeks before my accident, I had a severe concussion at Innisfil. So my brain was already injured to a certain degree. And when I got to Panoka, the 2 hits I took at Panoka took it over the edge. So like I'm living proof what can happen if you go back too soon without letting your brain heal from the first concussion.
Thank you for bringing that up, because that is something that we're still learning so much about our brains, but there has been so much more learned now, especially with children in sports, and you know how important it is that if that concussion happens, that you're fully healed, that you're going to a doctor, you're not just like, I have a concussion, I'm going to stay at home, and understanding what that means, because sometimes it can be um months and years even just on concussions that you wouldn't think are still affecting you that way. So that's such an important piece to put out there.
And and there's no game or event that important that you have to rush back, because the second hit caused the most damage. And if you keep going back too soon, there'll be one day where you don't go back and you're done with that sport, and you can say no longer ride your bike with your friends or skate with your friends because you kept going back too soon.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's such an important piece. Thank you, Curtis, so much for joining us. For anyone looking for more information on mental health in agriculture, they can visit our website, which is domore.ag. Yeah, we thank you for watching and for supporting mental health in ag. I'm going to turn the recording off.